Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the top-tier brewing stand. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
It's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think. Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy. Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
Greetings. How y'all doing today?
Are all our cretins? Is that who you're asking?
That's yeah. I guess they can't really reply at the moment. No.
Right.
But,
yeah.
We'll feel it in spirit. A week from now.
Well, if they're listening live, they can go to the chat now on the main Brewing Network page, www.thebrewingnetwork.com, and jump in there. And doesn't require any password or even your real name. You can get in there and chat with other folks during the show, and Justin's there watching what you say, and you can even kind of interact with the show through there. So kind of a cool way to do it. And you could respond to Palmer's question of how y'all doing.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
If there's anybody really out there.
They're out there.
It's probably just Bevo.
Bevo loves us, I think.
She's a big Jamil and Palmer fan.
Yes,
yeah.
Of course.
She came by the show yesterday.
She's a classy lady, that's why.
She came by the show yesterday, brought her new baby.
Yeah.
Oh.
And baby's looking good.
No, did we send her a onesie? A heretic onesie? That says,
you got to do that. She needs that.
Yeah. Didn't I drop it off, or... I can't remember now. It's supposed to send her one. It says, be a heretic, don't drink ordinary milk.
Oh, you got it. She'll love it. You know what else you got to send her is a bottle of that beer that you bottled up today, because she's back. She's off the wagon, so she's back in action.
Nice.
Yeah. What'd you bottle up today?
We bottled up Evil Cousin, the double IPA, and Evil Twin, the West Coast Red, or sort of West Coast Red. Not really, it's kind of a tweener. It's in there on the darker end of the spectrum.
Yeah. That's a close description, though, West Coast Red.
That's what I thought.
Close
enough.
Yeah.
Who really cares?
Send her a bottle of that. She'll love it.
It's good stuff, though.
With the onesie. Wrapped in a onesie. That's a good idea.
Yeah, send her a case, and maybe she'll put on the onesie. That'd be something to see.
She is looking, she's looking quite milfy now that she's a mama.
Yeah. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feels like it's coming on wintertime.
Yeah. So what'd you do? Did you spend all day bottling today, Jamil? Now that you're a working man?
Yeah, most of the day.
Yeah.
And I get people though.
You do?
Yeah, I get people.
Oh, that's good. But you got volunteers helping out, or
no? I actually pay people.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
dude, you're not following the BN handbook.
The BN handbook and volunteers. Yeah, that's true.
I can picture Jamil running around the brewery with a bunch of those little yellow guys with one eye, little minions from Despicable Me.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we do it. I put the beer in the bottles, cap it up, and off it goes.
So what was it? You, of course, your brewer,
Chris,
and who else?
JP. JP came by.
Oh, right.
Helped out. He
made
was
himself
very
useful.
helpful. Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
It was great. And we used a mobile bottling service. Ron Gregerson, he does it for a lot of different breweries, Drake's and Speakeasy, and earlier today he did Rubicon. And
okay.
Yeah, he's been doing it for like 15 years. Really knows his stuff.
Busy guy.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Absolutely a fantastic service. I can highly recommend. Very pleased with the results.
So,
how much beer did you bottle today?
32 barrels.
Wow, that's not inconsiderable.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but I thought about it today. I realized that I had still bottled more beer myself with a single counter pressure filler and a Blickman beer gun in 12-ounce bottles than we bottled today.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean in your life as a home brewer?
Oh, yeah. As a home brewer, I did, like at least 10 or 12,000 bottles.
Wow.
Easy.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah, wore out one of those wing cappers, or Liz did.
Yeah.
And some people were telling me, no, you can't wear out a wing capper. Yeah, you can.
It's possible.
Yeah, the little bell gets worn out and expands. It takes 8,000 bottles, but they do wear out.
I thought you'd have been using the Blickman beer gun today. I didn't know you were so big that you have the...
Well, what I did is have a mobile bottler come in.
Right.
He brings a beer gun and
yeah, he does
each bottle.
Yeah.
We stand there and watch.
Well, that gun's nice, so it's high quality.
We're actually using the Blickman beer gun for bottling our samples, or we have been for our sample beers for a while. We actually bottled our GABF entries with the Blickman beer gun. We bottled, we entered the Alpha King Challenge and bottled with the beer gun.
Wow.
And we're really pleased with the results. Chris had never used one before, and he
figured it out. And he was, when he told me about it, he's like, I really like that beer gun. Works great.
Yeah.
It's like, he was thinking it was going to be a pain in the ass, but
well, he doesn't want to do 32 barrels of it.
Right.
For samples and competition, that sounds good.
Right. Well, and I'm thinking, we might actually do something like that with lots and lots of volunteers. Get 20 beer guns, and we'll give it a tank for some of the like the miscreant, the sours and stuff. We might might end up doing that way. I don't know.
That's kind of how I picture that phone call going to John. Hey, John Blickman. So listen, I kind of need about 30 of those beer guns. What? That's not part of the deal.
I need to do lots of experimentation. A little more testing.
Yeah. Wow.
But I'll tell you what, I'm sure he, at the very least, cut me a good deal. He's a great guy, and he's just been a wonderful sponsor for this show. And he really cares about the homebrew community, and really cares about quality beer, quality products, and it's really just really cool to have him as a sponsor. So if you get a chance, you should go by. Well, if you get a chance, please come on. All right. Drop what you're doing. You
got a chance right now.
Yeah, you got a chance right now. What are you doing? You listen to me? Okay, come on. Go to BlickmanEngineering.com, Blickman with 2 N's, and check it out. They got a lot of really cool stuff, and he's coming out with neat stuff all the time. If you haven't been to the website in a little while, go back and check it out, because there's always something new coming up on BlickmanEngineering.com, and lots of new products. At the very least, send him an email and tell him how much you appreciate that he pays for the show, so you don't have to. And it really makes a difference to us. So please, show some return kindness to Blickman Engineering.
And bottle some good beer with the Blickman beer gun.
Yeah, absolutely. I use it. We're using it at Heretic, so...
if it's good enough for Heretic, right. It's certainly good enough for me.
Right. Yeah. That's for sure.
That's for damn sure.
All right. So what's our request today?
Well, guys, Matt from Montrose, Minnesota wrote in this week, and he says, could you guys do a show about finings and clarifiers? I can't seem to find the definitive information on what agents work best for what, and how to prepare all the different types of fining agents. So I'm interested in all the different ones and how they work, but I'm also specifically interested in Polyclar 730, which is a blend of polyclar and silica. This seems to be the perfect fining agent. But there's very little homebrew information on this, and I can't seem to find it sold anywhere in less than 22-pound packages. Love the show. Listen all the time from Matt. So finings is your topic today, guys.
All right. Well, and that's something that has taken on a bigger role for me. I as a home brewer, I tended to almost never use finings. I mean, I did in some cases, and then I just decided to let time be my fining.
Yeah.
And
I've used isinglass a few times, but
well, we're just prepped a firkin for Stone, and we got another firkin for Rockin' Brews, and so we're using kind of the powdered instant isinglass for those.
Oh, yeah.
And, one of the reasons you use isinglass because it'll resettle. If you disturb it, it resettles again, and like gelatin won't. So, one of the reasons. Let's do this. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we can kind of get more into, what Finings you might use in different situations, what things you might want to look out for, and just how you decide between one Fining and another. All right, back after this.
When you hear Blickman Engineering, think innovation, passion, quality, and customer service. Blickman gear is designed by brewers to give you a sense of pride in your equipment. At Blickman, they know what makes brewing a pain and build gear that makes it fun. Like the intuitive beer gun, a completely different approach to filling bottles. The Therminator Wort Chiller, a new take on a plate chiller that's sized for flow, performance, and the high groundwater temps homebrewers face every day. The Brewmometer, a brilliant weldless thermometer design with brewing parameters right on the dial. The Autosparge, ultimate simplicity for preventing an overflow or running your mash tun dry. And much more, like the modular top-tier brewing stand, conical fermenters, and their Boilermaker brew pots. With more cutting-edge equipment coming soon, keep up with the latest from Blickman at blickmanengineering.com and stay on the cutting edge.
Hi, this is Push from the Brewing Network, and I want to tell you about the Brewmaster's Warehouse and how you can get 10% off your next order. I'm a pretty techie guy, but I've never seen an online store like this. It's awesome. Go to brewmasterswarehouse.com and click on Brew Builder. You can whip up a custom recipe so easily even Sven could do it. Seriously, it's slick. You can share your recipe with your own logo and notes to the Brewmaster's database if you want, and the best part, it keeps a running tally of the beer you're building while you're doing it. Then, bam, click Buy Recipe, and your cart is filled and ready to go with helpful suggestions in case you forgot something. This thing is amazing. Brewmaster's Warehouse is run the way a home brewer would do it, with great service, fast turnaround, and $6.99 flat rate shipping. Brewmaster's Warehouse and the Brew Builder blew me away. Check it out today at brewmasterswarehouse.com. I'm serious. And don't forget to put BNARMY in the discount code box for 10% off your order. Check out brewmasterswarehouse.com. Cheers.
A heretic is anyone who does not conform to an established attitude, doctrine, or principle.
If you love craft beer, you're already a heretic.
The very first thing we did when we started looking at the beers that we would brew, we got rid of all those recipes. We started from scratch. We've been pilot brewing the most creative things that we could think of and the most interesting things. We've completely gone away from style.
Heretic Brewing Company is opening this spring in Pittsburgh, California, and you can be a part of it. Visit hereticbrewing.com and facebook.com/hereticbrew. Get the latest updates on the brewery and upcoming beers. Show everyone how you celebrate great beer as a heretic.
It's a fairly powerful word. Being a heretic, that means you're not settling for ordinary beer. You are going with flavorful, creative, bold, interesting beers. A heretic is looking for the best beers out there.
Be a heretic. Don't drink ordinary beer. Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Back to the two guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
Fine, just do it.
Just do what?
Fine.
Fine? Oh, fining. Yeah. Just do it. All right. So, John, what is fining?
Well, it's what you do to clear haze and or yeast out of your beer. Mm-hmm. It's, I guess, a lot of the traditional finings occurred in English cask ales. These ales were served fresh after a couple weeks. They were given a dose of krausen or sugar to carbonate them, and because they were carted around, served fresh, they would add isinglass to the casks to help settle the yeast to get a clear pour. Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned earlier, if you move a keg around like that, it'll resettle. Mm-hmm. Now, why on God's earth they picked fish guts to add to the beer to get the yeast to settle out, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it worked.
All right.
That's your traditional finings, is a way to use an additive to get the yeast to flocculate better, help them settle out some of the haze. Today we have finings that can be selective. You have plastic dust, you have silica, and Irish moss is another. That's called a kettle finings because you do it in the brew kettle as opposed to the maturation tank or the fermenter or the serving tank. But all of these agents work to chemically or electrostatically latch on to the haze particles and help them settle out a solution.
Mm-hmm. And so there's the kettle finings, Irish moss and things like whirl flock and other things that you would add to the kettle. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about you've done your brewing, and now you've got your beer, and it's not quite as clear as you'd like, and you want to settle out the various materials in there. And then there's, I guess, for lack of a better word, natural finings, and there's more man-made artificial finings, right? Mm-hmm. And the finings that you're adding, there's these haze-forming items in there, either yeast or proteins or tannins or whatever, protein-tannin complexes. Right. And they have a different charge on them, negative or positive, right?
Right.
And what you're adding kind of gloms on, or they like magnets, these little particles that you're adding of finings, they attract to the various things. So you need to kind of know, and when they attract to these various things, they form larger clumps, and the larger clumps settle faster and drop out of solution, right?
Right.
So you kind of need to know then what the haze is. Is it like a positively charged particles or negatively charged particles? Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. You have all kinds of different hazes that you can have in the beer. You can have a starch haze from, say, unmalted wheat or a poor mash conversion. You can have hazes from too much protein. You can have hazes from too much polyphenol, which can come from your hop cone husks or your grain husks, depending on what your source is. Mm-hmm. And each of these types of hazes has a particular fining that works best for it. And you're right. Each of these substances, the reason different finings work better than others is due to their electrical charge. And I'm trying to recall quickly which is which. I believe the yeast are positively charged, and as I try to find that data point.
And so, if it's positively charged,
yeah, but
you want
you've got your yeast cells and your proteins are positively charged, and your Finings like Irish moss, carrageenan, or the what's another protein? The silica are negatively charged, and so you get electrostatic attraction, hydrogen bonding between these materials, and as these particles, these micro-sized particles agglomerate and kind of bond, drift closer and bond together, it helps them give them enough mass where they eventually settle out.
Well, and it's funny in a way because it is the proteins and the tannins that they also attract and form. It's when they attract and they form a larger particle that you actually see it as haze. If they stayed apart, there wouldn't be any haze, right? They'd be so small you wouldn't be able to see them. It's not necessarily an issue. It's when they actually do attract that you end up with enough of a haze. And then I guess what you're trying to do with the Finings is make it a big enough particle that'll drop out, right?
Yeah, where gravity can take over. And that's part of the problem. I mean, some of these polyphenols are very small. They're not large tannins. They're less than microscopic size, and they're essentially soluble. But over time they will bond with protein and become slightly insoluble at cooler temperatures, and this is what we refer to as chill haze. And so at cold temps you'll see the haze in the beer. As you warm it up, these weak hydrogens bonds break up, and both the proteins and the polyphenols become soluble again. They go back into solution and it disappears. So you can use different materials like the silica, like the polyclar, PVPP dust, plastic dust. The PVPP attaches to polyphenols. The silica attaches to the proteins, and you can get a synergistic effect to remove haze by using a combination of the two.
There's no danger of using a positively charged and a negatively charged Fining and having that react together and not having the effect, or do you add them at different stages? You add one first and then the second
typically
one,
well, you can do it either way. I mean, there's some formulations you can add it in one shot. There's other formulations, I'm trying to remember what it's called, Superfine, something like that, kind of a trade name. But what that is, it's a combination of the silica, and they give it a trade name, Carousel, something like that. And
Clearasil,
yeah. And then
doesn't work.
A different type of polyphenol attractor. It's perlite as opposed to silica. Uses silica, and then the other thing is chitinase. That's what it is. Chitinase is a polymer kind of protein kind of thing, kind of like fingernail keratin, kind of like collagen, kind of like gelatin. It's in that same family of materials, and it works to attract the polyphenols. So in that case, in that particular one, and it's used a lot in the wine industry, you add the one chemical first. I believe it's the chitinase first, and then add the silica afterwards, and you strip out both materials that way. Both the polyphenols and the proteins. The thing when you're using all these materials, though, you have to be there's a little bit of experimentation involved, because it's your best results, your optimum results, where you don't strip out too much of the proteins that can lead to haze retention issues, foam retention issues, and the like, and stripping out some character of the beer, some of the dryness of the beer, whatever. You've got to dose the right amount, and then be able to extract it.
So Finings can have a flavor impact on your beer. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just like I really like filtering. I mean, it's the same sort of mechanism, really, where you're selectively removing components of the beer. And so if you remove too much, or you filter too much, too small a pour size, you can end up, not ruining the beer, but changing the character of the beer. And if you've done the experimentation and know that for this recipe you use this much fining or this much filtration, then and you're saying, okay, this is the beer I want to serve, and you do it consistently, then you've got a good product that way.
Well, and if you're fining correctly, let's say you pull yeast out, the yeast can have kind of a bitter, yeasty kind of character in some beers, and you don't want it in there. And when the yeast drops, it actually, is a nicer beer. So
it takes a lot of hop oils and alpha out with it. You can have some that stronger bitter flavor with the yeast in.
Now, is there, well, let's do this. Let's take a short break. And when we come back, I want to talk about, the temperature for fining, the amounts for fining. Maybe we get into some specific examples. I know there's the fining tests where you have graduated cylinders and you test various amounts, things like that, right?
Right.
All right, let's take a short break, and we'll talk about that when we get back after this.
What does craft beer mean to you? Is it a delicious way to support your town's local brewer? Or perhaps it's the perfect beverage to pair with those delicious devils on horseback? Regardless of whether you're thinking of pints or pairings, pilsners or porters, craftbeer.com is the site where craft beer lovers come together to learn and share. Craftbeer.com is brought to you by the Brewers Association and celebrates the best of American craft beer and its brewers. Craftbeer.com is the best place to find craft beer events, recipes, great feature stories, the most up-to-date brewery listings, and resources for your next beer tasting or dinner, like style guidelines, pairing mats, and charts. Get the inside scoop on new beer releases and special events from today's craft beer insiders, and chime in to share your own knowledge, perfect pairings, road trips, recipes, and more. Craftbeer.com, celebrating the best of American beer.
BN Army, HopTech has a great discount waiting for you. Do you often find it difficult to find specific specialty ingredients for your homebrew recipes? Well, listen to this. HopTech stocks 59 different grains to choose from, 39 varieties of pellet hops, and 8 kinds of whole leaf hops. And HopTech not only carries Y yeast and White Labs yeast for you, but also Fermentus, 04, 5, 6, 23, 33, and T58 Belgian yeast, plus Cooper's, Nottingham, and Windsor yeasts. Got your recipe ready to go? Pick up some great brew gear like new long and short sleeved shirts, games, and more. HopTech's new website is being updated every day with new items. If you don't see it, call the shop. They're open 6 days a week. BN Army and AHA members get a 10% discount, and active military personnel get 15% off. Visit HopTech.com today for great selection, great service, and a great discount. HopTech.com.
Nico, listen, our lawyers said that we had to do this for 1 hour, and after this, we don't have to talk to each other for 3 more months to the next meeting.
Kids, come on, let's get out of here.
I'm supposed to have more lines. I'm the professional. Hey, it's Sully.
And I'm Nico.
And we opened the 21st Amendment 9 years ago at 563 2nd Street in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park, to make great beer and have a great time doing it.
That's right, because to us, the 21st Amendment is more than just the right to make beer. It's the right to experiment, to be innovative, and just do things differently. And so now, we're putting our craft beer in cans.
That's right, cans. You can find our world-famous Hell or High Watermelon Wheat Beer and Brew Free or Die IPA throughout California and Alaska.
And now it's also available on draft at select accounts in the Bay Area.
So next time you're at your local neighborhood pub or good beer store, be sure to ask for 21st Amendment in cans.
Because everyone likes it in the can.
Tasty crack cans.
Tasty crack cans.
Williams Brewing is your online resource for prompt delivery of quality home brewing supplies. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and freshest ingredients and the best customer service in the business. Cut hours off your brewing sessions by using one of our 11 varieties of famous Williams malt extract. Our Williams Belgian Pale Extract is mashed with pure Belgian 2-row malt and a small percentage of Belgian wheat malt for an authentic Belgian character you just can't get from other extracts. Or check out our unique fermenters, 2.5-gallon kegs, paintball tank-based draft beer equipment, bottling aids, and much more. We even have our own line of precision hydrometers. Go to williamsbrewing.com to browse our vast selection. That's williamsbrewing.com. Orders placed by 3:30 p.m. Pacific Time ship the same day. Brewing is easy. The Williams way.
Hi, this is John from Grain and Grape in Melbourne, Australia. This has been a big year for us. We've just celebrated our 21st birthday and we've been voted best home brew shop in Australia. We reckon that makes us pretty much the best brew shop in the Southern Hemisphere. Now we've got the ultimate fix for all you space poor, time poor and lapsed brewers. The all-in-one Brewmeister is now at Grain and Grape and it's a beauty. There are 20, 50 and 200 litre systems. It lets you complete a temperature-controlled mash, boil and cool, all within the same stainless steel mains-powered unit. So if you live in an apartment, you don't have the time to complete a traditional brew day, or just plain lazy, you can be brewing beautiful all-grain beer more quickly than ever. We're also now making our own range of small batch fresh wort kits on the 200 litre system right here in the warehouse. Just one last thing. Mention the Brewing Network next time you're ordering online or over the phone to receive freight free on your next order of up to 15 kilos. Check out grainandgrape.com.au for conditions.
Back to your hosts, Jamil, Zainasheff, and John Palmer. Putting the testicles in technical. This is Brew Strong.
All right. You know, while we were at GABF this year in October, we a guy came up to me and was telling me about this better beer scores. This beerjudgeeducation.com. They it was really cool because the guy was telling me, he had listened to the Jamil show and learned about, all the various styles and how he thought that was a great resource. And he and a bunch of other educators kind of got together and they set up this website where they actually do online classes. And I get people email me all the time saying, I want to become a BJCP judge. How do I go about and do it? I think I got one just recently saying to the Brew Strong email address, if you have questions for us, brewstrong at thebrewingnetwork.com. You can ask us Q&A questions or give us ideas for show topics. But one guy was asking, how do I, I'm busy, I'm a dad, I got to work. How do I, become a BJCP judge? Kind of in my own time. Well, they've got these classes. You go online at beerjudgeeducation.com, or they're on Facebook as well. And classes are $175. It's a discount off of the $250 normal price through the January 1st of 2012. If you use the coupon code BBS11 Holidays. And what they do is they've got this fun way of learning about becoming a BJCP judge. So it prepares you for the exam. They got satisfaction guarantee, and if you don't like the course by the end of your second session, you can go ahead and just ask for a refund. So you can try it, and if it's no good for you, you get your money back. And they guarantee success. If you don't pass the BJCP exam, then you can retake the course free of charge. So pretty cool. They have these webinars where it's not just a canned regurgitation of junk. It's interactive. You've got an actual teacher there to kind of work you through it. So very cool. I think it's a great idea. I haven't tried it myself, but I think I worked in the computer based training field for many years, and I'm a big proponent of that. So I think it's kind of cool to see that the BJCP exam is coming along the same way, and I think it's a great opportunity.
Well, it's such a hard exam to pass, as it should be. You should have to know what you're talking about to be BJCP certified. Right. I think it's cool just to have another venue to get help. It's like having a tutor in the comfort of your home.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
well, and there's other people that are taking the classes, so you kind of think it's when you might be in an area where it's difficult to attend classes or find anyone that's doing any sort of classes.
Yeah.
Out here in California, it's not quite as difficult, but even then, just the timing. When I went to learn. Yeah, I made it to a class or two, and it was just inconvenient, and I just ended up having to study on my own, and it made it a lot harder.
Yeah,
than it should have been.
Yeah.
So if there was something like this, I definitely would have taken advantage of it. I guarantee you. So
kind of the best of both worlds. You get to study on your own and have a class at home.
Right.
So what's the coupon code again? Because it's $175 is a discount.
Right.
Pretty good discount from $250.
Yeah, you're saving yourself $75. It would be $75.
Oh, thank you. Because I never would have known that.
Right.
Actually, honestly.
So you use the coupon code BBS11 Holidays.
Sweet.
And if you can't spell holidays, you probably won't pass the BJCP exam. But it's HOLIDAY.
That's a good point too.
Yeah, so if you can't spell the coupon code, it's probably not for you.
Save your money.
Yeah, beerjudgeeducation.com. So check it out. Pretty interesting. I think it's a good idea. All right, so we were talking about things like temperature, amounts, fining tests. You want to talk about that, or do you want to? I guess it varies depending on the type of fining you're using, right, John?
Yeah, it does. There's general recommendations. I've got a table in How to Brew that talks about finings. The isinglass and Irish moss and polyclar and all the rest. Generally, the recommendation is something like for polyclar and silica is 6 to 10 grams per 5 gallons, or what's another way of saying that? 6 to 10 grams per 20 liters is a good conversion.
Right, grams per liter. There you go.
Yeah. Isinglass is usually 15 to 60 milligrams per liter, or 2 fluid ounces per 5 gallons. But again, you have to kind of play around with it to determine what works best for a particular recipe, because your water chemistry will play into it. The particular the grain bill will play into it. How much polyphenol is there, and how much protein. And so you'll need to adjust up or down depending on those numbers.
So that's where the fining test comes in. I know for commercial brew, we are using Biofine Clear in our brewery, and we just kind of have a pretty good idea of what it takes. Chris has been using Biofine for a long time, so it's no problem. But you can take graduated cylinders, all the same size, and measured amount of beer, measured amount of finings, and you try 50% less, 50% more, and whatever your initial assumption is, and then you see which one clears better at a certain pace and all that, and which kind of gives you some guidance into what's the ideal amount, because too much is no good, too little is no good. There's kind of a Goldilocks thing going on, right?
Right. The thing about I'm not familiar with the Biofine Clear that you use, but is it a PVP silica type fining?
No, I don't know what's in it.
Okay.
I know it's vegan friendly.
Ah, well, okay. Because with the polyclar, I mean, it is plastic, micronized plastic dust.
Yeah,
high surface to volume ratio.
Micronized plastic dust.
Yeah,
I don't think we put that in.
I'm sure it's fine. And well, and that, I wonder about that too. And I think other people do. I think, I know this is being used and all over, and I'm sure it's perfectly fine. But when when I was just homebrewing, I was always thinking, well, God, I don't want to put any like plastic dust in my beer, and right. I'm sure it's fine, but do I need to filter it out? Is it really gonna all will this plastic dust just pass through and make my poop all look sparkly, or what's the potential? I mean, are all these things are FDA approved, or what's
they're not FDA approved for ingestion. And so when you're actually using, as a professional brewery, when you're using polyclar, they recommend a 2-step removal. One where you allow the bulk of material to settle out, and then you rack away from it. Or pump away from it, and then they want you to pass it through a DE filter, diatomaceous earth or perlite filter to remove the remainder. And you end up with brilliantly clear beer, what everybody wants. That's going the extra mile to take it out. I think if given the minimal amounts that you're really using.
Right.
6 to 10 grams, which is not very much at all.
And anybody that has like brothers, sisters, or small kids, that you can pass like an entire Green Army man through your digestive tract. And,
Legos, whatever.
Yeah, Legos and all that. So you can move a lot of plastic through the human body without really any difficulty.
It's a polyvinyl chloride or polyvinyl propanolone. It's hard to pronounce, but it's a fairly non-reactive material. This plastic, this polymer, but it does cause the proteins to stick to it.
So there's probably no real harm in it. It's just it isn't anything approved. So
right,
they want it filtered out.
Yeah. So, but really, the way they suggest you use it in the professional literature is you take deaerated water, softened water, so like distilled or near distilled water that's been boiled to get any oxygen and carbon dioxide out, and then you stir that in, make a slurry of it, and they recommend that you allow an hour for the material to fully hydrate, fully get wet. Sure, when you probably first dump it in, it probably just sits there on top. You gotta, mix it in and get it turned into a full slurry, and then you can either batch dose it, where you pour that, you get that slurry, agitated, add it to your fermentation tank or your bright tank, and then recirculate that tank, or some way of moving the beer around so that you get that slurry distributed. And then they said the actual contact time that's required is only 5 to 10 minutes for it to grab onto these haze particles and help pull them out. And then you can wait an hour or so, or longer. All longer periods of time are not detrimental. You can let the stuff settle out, rack away from it, and then do your polish filter to get all of it. I think for a home brewer, if you're able to find it, and I know I'm pretty sure there's several shops that sell it, you can just let it work and rack away from it.
Yeah, if you let it settle for long enough, and you see brilliantly clear beer, just go ahead and rack that off, and don't worry about what's out at the bottom.
Right.
Okay. Now,
and they also recommend that you do it cold. It works best in colder temperatures.
That's what I was going to ask. The colder, the better?
Yeah. One piece of literature here from ISP Polyclar is they recommend getting the beer near 0 degrees Celsius.
Well, now that's not true for every type of fining, right? I've read in the literature where
that's for the PP, the polychloride.
For your PP?
Yeah.
I've read, in literature for isinglass, you want to find, and it works better on a rising temperature. You don't want to go beyond a certain temperature because then it doesn't work so well. Not too low a temperature doesn't work so well, but you want to also do it on a rising temperature. Actually, supposedly works best.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, read it somewhere.
Mm-hmm. But if you remember it, I believe it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
I remember all sorts of things. No, I'm not. Haven't done like all the testing that I had done in the past for all the other stuff that I've talked about. But in this case, I believe I've seen it. Just a number of different times mentioned that a rising temperature helps with isinglass. So. There you go. Well, and gelatin's another common thing used.
Yeah.
But now that's different than isinglass, but it's also can be a natural product.
Yeah, it's a cow hooves or other source, but you put it in, and it's very good for taking the yeast out of suspension and clearing the beer that way. Doesn't do as much for proteins. Protein haze has a small effect, but its most significant effect is it's very good at dropping yeast, and quite a few homebrewers use that.
Now, what about so yeast? We talked about starch. We talked about protein and polyphenol hazes. What about when you're making a fruit beer? I know if I'm making like a light color fruit beer and I add, if I heat up my fruit or add fruit to the boil or something like that, it's going to form a pectin haze.
Right.
Now, what's that? How do you get rid of a pectin haze? Isn't that different than this?
Yeah, those are a little different. The other Finings won't touch those. What you need to do is get some pectinase enzyme. And that will break up that saccharide polymer and allow you to. It basically makes it soluble and takes it and stops being a haze at that point.
So you have a particle in there that the enzyme, like the enzymes in the mash, break down the starches into sugars. This will break down the pectin, make it soluble, make it, and all of a sudden the haze will go away.
Right, and you can get pectinase at your homebrew shop, and a couple drops will do you.
Well, there you go. Little dab will do you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so how about some general guidelines then? How to think about the different Finings, and where would somebody start? Where do I start? I see my beer is hazy. What's the first thing I should do?
Drink it as fast as you can.
Don't worry.
Think about the style. Where is this haze probably coming from?
Right.
Is it?
A massive amount of hopping, or you're doing a party guile, and it's the last batch, and it's low gravity, and you get maybe a lot of tannins, or maybe it's from Hefeweizen yeast or something like that.
Right, a low flocculating yeast, the strain that you used, could be that. It could be a starch haze. If you're brewing an American Pale Ale and not a massive amount of hops, and it's not a double or IPA or something. It's just a Pale Ale.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got this haze. That one just may be chill haze.
Right.
And or if it's a wheat beer, it could be a protein haze or a yeast haze. So think about the style first. Where is that most likely coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And then try a Fining based on that. For yeast, use isinglass or gelatin.
Mm-hmm.
For a wheat beer protein haze, go with the Irish moss in the kettle, or a carrageenan or a silica is also a very good protein binder.
Mm-hmm.
If it seems to be more tannin related, polyphenol related, that's where you'd want to go with your polyclar to help to bind that up. So that's a decision making process. You just got to try and see what works. It's easier in a professional brewery because you're making that beer every week,
right?
And you can try out different systems and different amounts and come up with a system works really well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. All right, well, let's do this. Let's take one more short break, and when we come back, we'll get to your questions in the chat after this.
When Blickman Engineering set out to design a great brewing stand, they knew it had to be strong, adaptable, and last for a lifetime. The top-tier brewing stand is now proudly available at BlickmanEngineering.com. It grows with your brewing skills and equipment. Start with 5-gallon coolers on its heavy-gauge stainless steel shelves. Then move all the way up to 30-gallon pots on the high-output burner tiers. Speaking of burners, the custom Blickman Engineering top-tier burners are extremely powerful, efficient, and amazingly quiet. They have safety stops to center your pot, and they'll last a lifetime and won't rust. The top-tier brewing stand allows virtually infinite combinations from traditional gravity systems to 2 tiers to completely horizontal. Configure your stand the way you want and have the freedom to change it at any time in the future. Your brewing stand should adapt with you, not force you to learn a new process. Visit BlickmanEngineering.com today to configure your top-tier brewing stand and to find a local Blickman retailer. You'll be surprised with all the flexible features and the competitive price. Start brewing with Blickman from the top tier.
In a world where everything has been lost.
What happened to the city? It's in ruins.
Only one man has the ancient knowledge to restore civilization.
I need a drink. Oh no, the liquor store's been ransacked.
You looking for beer, stranger? Boy, all the liquor got drunk up in the first 25 minutes of the apocalypse.
Wait, there's still some bottles over... Oh, no. Those are non-alcoholic beer.
I reckon you better stick to arrowroot tea and a desperate nomadic existence like the rest of us.
People, I'm a home brewer. I know how to make alcohol.
It can't be done.
Come with me if you want the beer. Okay, I'm gonna need some big plastic buckets.
He is the chosen one. The prophecies say that he's gonna get us wasted.
Someone start heating water.
From the creators of Northern Brewer, the people who brought you $7.99 Brew Saver shipping, massive selection, and superior customer service comes the Homebrewer.
Hi, I'm Jamil Zainasheff, and in addition to my work on the Brewing Network, I write the Style Profile column in every issue of Brew Your Own magazine.
Hi, I'm Sean Paxton, and when I'm not prepping for the Home Brewed Chef on the Brewing Network, you can find me writing articles on how to cook with your home brew for Brew Your Own magazine.
Greetings, cretins. This is John Palmer, and when I'm not writing for Brew Your Own, I'm reading it.
John Palmer, Sean Paxton, Jamil Zainasheff. If you love listening to them on the Brewing Network, you'll love reading their articles, tips, and recipes in the pages of Brew Your Own magazine. Join Jamil, John, and Sean 8 times a year in Brew Your Own. And when you subscribe to BYO on the Brewing Network website, half of your subscription price goes right back to the BN to support great beer and food programming. So sign up for Brew Your Own magazine through the BN website today so you can listen and read your way to better homebrew.
Hey, what are you doing, man?
Writing a review of WLP 400.
What? You're reviewing yeast?
Yeah. White Labs has home brewer reviews of all their strains. Are you new to these interwebs? Check it out.
That's awesome.
White Labs, your source for great yeast, invites all brewers to visit whitelabs.com to read and write your own reviews of all their yeast strains. Get real-world tips and tricks from other brewers who have made the most of their vials and post your own experiences. It's another way White Labs brings you closer to the best yeast on the planet.
And send. There you go. You misspelled flocculate, dude.
What? Mother...
White Labs. It's all in the vial.
Back to the beer guys that make other beer guys look like wine guys. Brew strong.
All right, we're back. We're talking about Finings, post-ferment Finings. And I think it's a good topic because we got quite a few questions.
It's a fine topic.
Quite a few questions in the chat. But one thing I want you guys all to remember, we got some great sponsors and check them all out.
Fine sponsors.
Some fine sponsors. And fellas and gals, if you're looking to spice things up in the bedroom, been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult movie, well, here's an offer you won't be able to resist. Go to adamandeve.com, and for a limited time only, you get 50% off just about any item. And, it's a huge amount of items. It's not just one or two. It's lots of their thousands of items.
And Jamil knows huge.
And that's not all. You've been drinking, John. When you select your one item at 50% off, you'll also receive 3 free adult DVDs for a little inspiration. They're DVDs that you choose. It's not, some garbage bin that they're giving you. So you choose 3 free DVDs for some inspiration, plus a free extra gift so sensual you can't mention on the air. And to top it all off, they'll throw in free shipping on your entire order. So check out adamandeve.com today for this special offer. You'll get 50%. So you type the code Jamil, Jamil. You'll get 50% off one item when you use the offer code. Then when you do, you also get 3 free DVDs, and you get a free extra gift and free shipping. So it's you buy one thing, and you get this whole giant bundle of stuff shipped to you free. So check it out. If you can use the products at adamandeve.com. I really don't think you can go wrong shopping there. So pretty cool. Just use the offer code JAMIL at adamandeve.com. And if you're got one of them fancy smartphones, you can go to the mobile site m.adameve.com and do it all there as well. So check it out. Been a good sponsor for us for quite a bit of time now. All right, so let's get to those questions in the chat and wrap the show up.
Yeah, a bunch of people in chat tonight, and a lot of good questions about Finings. Let's see. First of all, Ellis from Texas wrote in, I've used Irish moss and Werflock. It never seems to settle out in the kettle. It stays a coagulated mass. So how long should I let wort settle after using Finings? And is it okay if a bunch of it, just to follow up, is it okay if a bunch of it does get transferred to primary?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Generally, it depends on the shape of the kettle and the volume of the kettle and all that, of course. But generally, within 20 to 30 minutes, it should all settle out. Now, if you're getting kind of a gooey, weird mass, or if your beer is really hazy afterwards, you might be using too much. Now, a friend of mine, I told him, hey, I really love Werflock. It's a fantastic product. I use it all the time. And he used that. He used Irish moss, and then he used too much Werflock, and he ended up with a beer that was permanently hazy.
Oh,
and yeah, it was just murky. And so you use one or the other, and use it in the appropriate amounts, and then it should work real well. And 20 minutes, it should settle out.
Okay, Palmer, anything to add to that, or?
No, I mean, what does carry over, should also settle out after fermentation as well.
Right.
Okay. And his follow-up question is, what effect does gelatin have on hop aroma? Does it strip out of the beer like I've read that it does? What do you think of that?
I don't know.
Yeah, anything's possible.
I guess the worry is that part of the particles Finings are pulling out are hop matter, right? That might add to
oils and things like that. But yeast does too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a balancing act, and and especially if you're doing a lot of dry hopping, how important is beer clarity to you?
Yeah.
I think for most home brewers and craft brewers, hop aroma and all that is more important than clear beer.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends.
I think Tasty might say that if you find you're missing out on some hop aroma, calculate for that in your recipe and add more hops if you're going to use Finings, right?
That's right.
Sure.
So, okay, Bike Foolery wrote in, have either of you used Biofine Clear?
We use it at Heretic.
Okay, what is it?
It's a fining.
It's just a basic fining.
Yeah, it's I think some natural something vegan friendly. It's not from like fish guts or anything, and works great. We have good success with it.
Okay. All right, and a follow-up to that for both of you is, and I think this is a good question, what about bottle conditioning beer after using Finings? Will there be enough yeast left in suspension to do bottle conditioning?
Depends on what you fine with, but if you're fining out yeast, if you're using a fining that's going to take the yeast out, then definitely you're going to want to add more yeast back to bottle condition.
Okay.
Because it'll pull pretty much all the vast majority of yeast out, and there probably won't be enough left.
All right.
Yeah, I'm looking on the web, and it says that Biofine Clear is a silicic acid or silica type material.
Mm-hmm.
So it's working by pulling out the proteins like other silica products.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it seems to be silica only,
mm-hmm.
So there it's a fairly inert material, and that's why they can say it's vegan friendly.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's dirt, sand.
Because it's vegan friendly because it's dirt. Oh, it's hippie friendly.
But
those of you who don't bathe, Biofine Clear,
right?
No animals involved.
Okay. And then Bike Foolery's final question is: Are there yeast enzymes that break down protein hazes, like those made by White Labs, considering Finings? Our fine sponsor, White Labs, they make that Clarity Firm.
Mm-hmm.
They were giving it away at this year's NHC. I know, just people can go check it out. So, are those? Is that considered a fining to break down protein haze? An enzyme like that?
I don't know if it's. I don't know if it falls in the technical realm of fining, but I think it's a great idea if you can, eliminate the problem in a different way.
Yeah,
I haven't tried it myself, but if I had time to brew a homebrew batch, I'd definitely give it a shot.
Why not?
Yeah, I don't see any reason not to.
Okay. Well,
I think it's kind of along the lines of your.
It's like the pectinase, or
and also the protein enzyme. Like you get what's a papazen meat tenderizer type stuff. It breaks up protein and then breaks up protein hazes thereby.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to whitelabs.com right now, kind of near the top of the page, there's an enzymes button. You can click the enzymes button, and then there's a demonstration involving Clarity Firm that you can take a look at, too, if you want to kind of see things in action.
Cool.
So, yeah. Okay, how about this one? Hot Rod's in the chat room, and he asked...
Well, and one thing, somebody was asking about, hop character and things like that. I think one of the advantages, maybe, of the Clarity Firm would be it doesn't affect... you're not stripping out materials. Right. What you're doing is breaking it up,
make it more soluble,
that it's more soluble. So it stays in solution. It just doesn't form. It's not large enough chunks to be haze.
Okay.
Forming. So that might be kind of the best of both worlds. I really don't know because I haven't used it, haven't looked into it that much. But that might be the best of both worlds because you get rid of the haze, but you're not affecting the flavor. So, it might be great.
Okay. Hot Rod in the chat room wants to know if using Finings can hurt you when repitching.
Sure, it's an interesting question because especially if you have something that binds to the yeast and helps take the yeast out of solution, but and generally I would think you might have better performance if you didn't fine and and then pitch the yeast. Generally, commercial brewing, they'll harvest the yeast and then they'll fine. So it drags the rest of the yeast out, but they've already harvested the yeast that they're going to pitch. So if you can do that home brewing, I think that's a better way to go. But I've also, I really haven't looked into it, but I thought I remember something about that repitching that yeast that's been fined out, that the yeast will somehow, become detached from whatever that fining was, and they'll go back into solution and active and that whole thing. It doesn't permanently mess them up. So I'm not sure that's really true, but I think I remember something along those lines. But ideally, what you want to do is harvest your yeast first and then fine.
All right. Secret Lab in the chat room is curious about sanitation and certain finings. He says that some are bulk packaged, like in a nasty warehouse, no doubt, and say rehydrate in water. Mm-hmm. So I can sanitize the water, but should we worry about the bulk packaged powders? Many can't be boiled, he says.
Right, because it deactivates them or changes them.
Yeah.
Right. I think the chances of bacteria or something like that living for a long time in one of those powders, I think, is pretty low. So
if hopefully they're a good manufacturer is taking steps.
Right, but a lot of times, like a homebrew shop, they'll buy a bulk. It's like the original question. He's like, I can't find anything less than a 22-pound sack.
Right,
and then homebrew shop will buy a 22-pound sack, and then take a tablespoon out and start scooping it into smaller sacks for the convenience and helping out their customers. But the worry would be, is that packaging nice and sanitary? I think most of the homebrew shops would pay attention to that, knowing that it could be an issue. And I think, if you're using something that's, especially a powder or something like that, it's dry, it's an inhospitable, environment for any sort of critter, and you give them enough time, that'll pretty much kill them off as well. I guess you could try things like freezing for a couple of freezing cycles or things like that. I mean, there's options there. I really wouldn't worry about it. I would just go ahead and use it.
Okay. Okay. Can you fine in a keg? And if so, do you then just pull off a few pints of beer before drinking, like you would with a hoppy beer, to get those finings out of the bottom? I guess.
Yeah, or run it through a filter. A beer filter.
I would have thought a lot of people do just fine in a keg, especially since we talk a lot about not doing a secondary, just go from primary to a keg and then fine right there.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, with gelatin and isinglass, that's common. You just fine right in the keg.
Like
it settles to the bottom, and you just go ahead and drink it. I think it gets a little more.
And if you drink any of that, it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
it's not going to harm you in any way.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. If you're using one of the,
the polyclar silica kind of things,
something like that, you might, think about that differently.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Got a question about not necessarily finings. Afterlab is in the chat, and he says, if you have protein, polyphenols, and other particles in suspension during lagering, can these particles cause a highly flocculent yeast to flocculate slower?
No.
Okay. So they don't really interfere with what the yeast is normally going to do anyway?
No.
Okay. All right. Very good. And let's see. Just a couple more here. I'm getting through as best I can. I don't know what this chat name is, but he wants to know, what about finings for styles that are cloudy, like Hefts and Belgian Blondes? How would you find something like that but still keep the cloudiness? Which is interesting to me, because I would think instantly you wouldn't want to fine it.
Right, and I suppose generally you wouldn't. But let's say there's something in particular that you wanted to remove. What you need to determine is, whether that's positively, negatively charged, and what type of fining you would use to remove those things. Certain types of finings are better with certain, are more effective at removing certain things. So you'd identify what it is you wanted to remove while leaving behind the other part, and then trying to find the appropriate fining.
Yeah, there are hazers, I guess you'd call them. They're additives you can use to create a haze in beer for hefts. I believe they're starch based or polyphenol based. I don't know. I've seen them at the Homebrewers conference. I've seen them at CBC. Little packets that you can add to create haze.
Okay. Yeah, you
could strip it out and then put some of that back
right.
in, haze it up again.
It does sound
interesting.
It does sound counterintuitive, but I guess you're right. If you're looking to pull something out and then just add back what
I can't imagine ever adding some hazing ingredient. It's interesting. Yeah.
Okay. All right. One more question. Let me get through this, and then we're about done here. One of our guests in the chat room, you're talking about mixing finings in the kettle, JZ. But what about post fermentation finings? Is it okay to mix those, like say biofine clear and gelatin?
Right, and that's what we were talking about earlier. You might use finings in multiple stages. Remove one thing, then remove the other. Generally, if you remove one of the components of haze, then the other component is not visible and it's not an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'd go for your yeast first. It's gentler, and then if you still have a haze after that, then you could follow up with polyclar or silica.
Either pull out the tannins or pull out the proteins. Probably tannins first. Leave proteins, because proteins have a very important role. I mean, tannins do too, but maybe tannins, and then then maybe it's a starch haze.
Yeah.
So you take multiple shots at it.
All right, that'll do it from questions from the chat, guys.
Excellent. That's another good show, John, and obviously a very interesting topic for a lot of folks, because had a good active chat room.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good to get your comments and questions.
Well, what we'll do is, if you're listening live, we're going to do a Q&A show coming up right after this. Also, make sure you check out the Brewing Network store, brewingnetwork.com/store. You're going to find all sorts of good things in there, and when you purchase these things, profits go to the bottom line of the Brewing Network and keep this kind of programming on the air. So if you enjoy this, in there, buy yourself a couple of shirts, a hoodie, hat, glassware. They got all sorts of great things in there, and even books. They've got the wonderful How to Brew by John Palmer. I tell you, it's a fine book, and you can get signed copies.
I'm not sure. We might still have some signed copies in there, yeah.
Oh, well worth it. And, you're getting a great book with a lot of, no matter how advanced a brewer you are, I guarantee you there's going to be something in there that you have not seen before, and well worth the purchase.
Thank you.
And also support, our other fine sponsors, Blickman Engineering and AdamandEve.com, and check out the BeerJudgeEducation.com. Also, you can get yourself a subscription to Brew Your Own magazine and Zymergy. Just click on the links on the Brewing Network, and a portion of the proceeds go directly to the Brewing Network and keep this show on the air. So check all that out. Good stuff. And, they're all deserving of your support, because they are actually supporting you. So nice things. Until then, brew strong.
Brew strong, everybody.